Welcome back to Urthworm Overland. I just looked back at YouTube and realized it's been 2 years since I've done a video. Wow, that's pretty crazy. I do a lot of stuff on Instagram, and I had some problems with my GoPros, so go figure that that time goes by real quick. But I am shooting on the Osmo Action new camera that I just got, so this is the first video with it, just trying it out. See how it goes here. As you can see, I've got the Bedliner on both the Urthworm camper body and the pickup, and we'll kind of go through each unit individually, and this will be a pretty extended video. It may even be 2 or 3 different parts, but we'll just kind of see how it goes here. So on the Duraback Bedliner, do-it-yourself Bedliner, I've got mixed feelings about it. It was really difficult to roll on. It's a roll-on Bedliner. I found that it would skin over real quick, so you had to work your tail off and keep adding xylene to your paint pan. And every time you open that gallon to add more of the Duraback to your paint pan, you'd want to make sure to pour more of the xylene on top of the Bedliner inside the can, because that stuff skins over quick, and when it does, then your project basically goes to hell because you got big chunks of stuff in the paint. So that's my biggest recommendation there, is don't be afraid to use that xylene. It evaporates. It's just basically a thinning agent, and it is your best friend when applying this. These are the rollers that I ended up using. I found these to be the best. I went through probably 4 or 5 different rollers just to try to find the best one to kind of fit the application that I was doing. This is 4 or 5 coats of the Duraback on this wood. I'm not super pleased with it. If you look real close here, you can see that there are little bubbles that have popped, and as all those are going to do is just trap dirt, and so I'm kind of worried about that. Also, I've got hundreds of hours in sanding this body, and it showed every wood grain and imperfection. What felt perfect to my hand showed up on this Bedliner. So those are the things to keep in mind. On the pickup, on the metal, it actually turned out smoother, but I still got the air bubbles in it. And I applied this stuff in 90-degree weather, and I applied it in 50-degree weather. It didn't matter. It was just kind of a pain in the neck to apply. I think ultimately I think the durability of it's good. It's strong, but I think ultimately it should be sprayed on just to get that nice finish. So let's dive into the power unit. That's a 2001 Dodge Ram 2500 4-wheel drive with the 5.9 Cummins in it. I chose that for the power plant just because of its dependability, mainly with that motor. This truck was virtually a rust-free truck when I bought it, probably 5 years back. And so I did a few upgrades to it, but I've done a lot more upgrades since preparing for this camper body. Working over here on the front bumper for it right now. This is an Iron Cross front bumper, and I've also got the Iron Cross side steps. The Iron Cross, I really like their style. The look and design of them is really cool. I'm disappointed with the powder coating that they use. This bumper has been on this truck for less than 2 years, and it's rusting all the way around the bottom of it and around every little cutout and edge. It just peeled off and was rusting. So I am going to re-bedline this bumper. I cut in cube lights, quite a few of them, so they'll be hooked up on separate switches. These outside angle lights will be on a separate switch, of course, than the 4 center lights, which will be more like a driving light. This bumper came with a round cutout, excuse me, and so I ended up having to do some fab in there and weld in some strap to square that back up for the cube lights. Moving on to the beast here. we'll start in this corner here. These are fuel pump wheels with open country Toyo tires. I chose this combination because I have roughly 4,000 pounds of capacity per corner between the rubber and the wheel. And so that I'm hoping that that's adequate for this build. I don't know what my weight's going to be yet, but I'm hoping that that's going to be adequate for the build that I'm doing. The Spider headlights, I've used Spider headlights before. I think this is my third set of Spider headlights on different vehicles. I'm a little disgruntled with them this go around. If you can see right in there, that adjuster, there's a metal clip that goes over that adjuster ball, and right out of the package it was missing it. So I contacted the seller and got little to no help out of them. So I contacted the manufacturer and I literally got just put off. So my last email to them said that I will make sure to let everybody out there in the interweb know that that's the kind of service you get out of Spider. They're stylish, they're well built, but I'm unhappy with their service, and service is everything. I did add the 3M film on top of these lenses. The thing that I have found with Spider, as well as other aftermarket headlight companies, is the plastic that they use isn't the quality that the manufacturers use. So it doesn't take but a couple years and you get pretty bad scratches and they start to yellow. So I'm hoping that that clear 3M will help against that. Diving underneath the truck, some stuff I'm pretty excited about. This is a company called Synergy, and I actually stumbled across these guys by accident, and I am very grateful that I did. This is an oversized tie rod and drag link, and they are using a design that they came up with that captures those ball ends to where you don't get any of the typical rocking forward and back that you do out of a factory drag link and tie rod ends. I think that that's awesome. It's supposed to really help with the bump steering, and I'm pretty jacked to get this thing on the road and actually test out that theory. This also changes it from a Y style steering on this Dodge to a T style, and I think that that's also going to help considerably. Got a Fox steering stabilizer up here, and of course it's absolute beautiful product. I'm waiting for the rest of my Fox shocks right now. I ordered them 2 months ago and I still haven't gotten them yet, so that kind of sucks, but hopefully it's worth the wait. I also went with the Synergy sway bar links. Nice heavy duty sway bar link. And the coil springs on the front of this, I rebuilt all of the suspension from the front back on this truck. So these coils here are a larger diameter coil made by Tough Truck. And I'm really actually pretty happy with the way that that turned out. I had the leveling spacers on the front end of this Dodge before, and so when I went to put these springs in, they claim that it gives you about 2 to 2.5 inches of ride height. And so, but when I went to put them in, I was a little skeptical on that. I almost put the spacers back in, and I'm glad that I didn't, because these things set down just absolutely perfect, and I'm really excited about it. The powder coating or the finish on those springs, that's something to be said. I don't understand why the manufacturers don't use a better quality powder coating than what they do. I ended up scuffing those up and painting those myself just to make them look nice and hopefully hold up and be rust free for a while anyway. Back here we've got these radius arms, or the 4-link, and this is a company called APOC. Now, had I known that Synergy, or had I run into Synergy before I purchased these APOCs, I would have automatically bought the Synergy, just because the quality of the Synergy is absolutely impressive. The tolerance in the threads is spot on, zero tolerance. I can't say enough good things about that company. APOC, on the other hand, until you tighten up those jam nuts, their threads are sloppy, and I just makes no sense that, you know, why you design a product like that, but you can't have your tolerances tight. And so chances are I'll probably change these out to the Synergy 4 lengths down the road. Right now it'll just kind of have to do. The other thing is they showed up and they were the wrong size bushings, or not bushings, but the inserts in the bushings were the wrong size. So they had to hurry up and send me the correct size so that way I could even install them. So a little disappointed, but what do you do? You got about seems like you got about a 50-50 chance these days on manufacturers on how the quality of their products. So up here in the engine bay, I've gone with a lot of AFE product. This stuff has been on this truck for probably 3 years now. I'm really happy with their air box. Their air filter is ginormous. It's sitting here in the cab right now. But the air filter element itself, which is a dry filter, which is what I highly recommend on diesel engines, anything turboed or supercharged should not have a oiled filter, they should have a dry filter. And so I am happy with the air that I get there. The exhaust manifold is also AFE. That did drop my EGT temps, which that was exactly what I was after there, and it helped. There's other things that I want to do to also drop them some more, but for now that did help out a lot. Right here is what you're looking at. This is a pack brake amp. It's a 3/4 horse air compressor, and anything that you get from pack brake is just top-notch quality. I've been around their products before in the past and have always been impressed. This compressor is plumbed into a 5-gallon aluminum air tank at the back of the truck, and it will operate the airbags, control the airbags. It'll control the exhaust brake, which I have not purchased yet, air horn, and auxiliary air, and of course anything else that I decide to do air down the road. But it's a pretty nice setup, good quality. I'm happy with it so far. I'm really interested to see how loud it is once I do fire it up. But the blue line there is going directly into the cab, and you'll see the air lines going into the cab. That's going to be the feed line for the switch for the airbags, and then there's a green line coming out through the firewall that goes back to the airbags to control that pressure there from inside the cab. And then this is a pressure sensor, and then your pop-off valve. And so I eliminated the second battery on this truck, mainly because I needed room for an air compressor. I wanted to get that air compressor up and out of being down low in the moisture and dirt and that type of thing. So the battery that I found is an Odyssey Group 31, which is going to be the dimensional size of your semi batteries, and it's within 250 cold cranky amps factory between the two batteries. So I went ahead and grounded everything over on this side as if there was a battery over here. I made sure to ground my block of my engine to the frame, ground the frame to the body, and then ground accessories and stuff like that. I wanted to make sure to have a good ground all the way around. So I'm pretty excited to try that single battery setup and see how well it works out. I'll show you some other things here in a minute as to why I don't think that I'll need all those cold cranky amps for firing this monster up. So I also changed out the alternator. That is an alternator made by a company called Mean Green, and that is equivalent to an ambulance alternator. So that's a 220 amp output alternator, and that's just to keep up with all the accessories, help charge the camper when you're going down the road, and just keep the charging system adequate and not too much stress on it. So this cooling fan is a company called Duralite, and was really impressed with the way that it installed. Again, it was benchmark quality as far as installation goes. I have not got to run it yet, so that may be a different story, but I doubt it. It seems like the quality was all there, so I'm pretty happy about that. But this replaces the fan and fan clutch off the front of the motor and goes with two, I think they're 15-inch, 12 or 15-inch electric fans. Now this is a variable fan, meaning that it doesn't run all or none. It is actually thermostatically operated to run based on what your temperature is. So I think it will run between 60 and 100% based on your temperature, which is important for a diesel engine. It's important that that diesel stays at operating temperature. They're a lot more sensitive than a gas motor for temperature. So I'm pretty stoked about that. That's the variable speed controller right there. I've also got that ran into the cab, so that way I can turn the fans on and off manually if you're doing any kind of water crossing, or if there's a situation, say you're getting ready to make a big, long, hard pull with some big grade, then you can actually turn those fans on ahead of time and start cooling before you start putting a load on the motor. So pretty jacked about that. I think that's going to be a nice add-on there. A few years back, I replaced all my intercooler hoses with the Mishimoto, and I just ordered these Mishimoto radiator hoses, and I need to get the heater hoses as well, but that's a package that just came in the mail today. Some days it's like Christmas every day here. Over in this corner is what I did was made everything, all my accessories, centrally fuse into one fuse block. And just to make it as simple as possible, as clean as possible, that way if you've got any issues, you go to one spot and, you know, see what your issue is, and you can trace it back from there. When you buy all these different accessories, they come with an inline fuse, and so consequently you get this conglomerate of shit on top of your battery of wiring. And so if you do pop a fuse on something, you had a problem, then you got to fish through all of the inline fuses to figure out which one went where. So that cleaned that up quite a bit. You can see I've got my relays all the way across here. These two relays are for the fast fuel system. This relay here is for fuel heaters, heats the fuel tank, and then also heats the fuel filters. And then this relay here is for that pack brake air compressor. So all of the factory parts that you can't get from Mopar anymore, like this foam, any of your rubber seals, I got from a company called LMC. I'm sure as a builder, you know, if you've built any kind of project, LMC has been around forever, but that got the windshield arm or wiper arms and gaskets and seals and for around the doors and all that. Replaced all that while I'm here and while I'm at it. So the hood, this is a key parts hood, so it's a cowl inducted hood. That's a steel hood, and I originally had a fiberglass hood on this truck. I replaced the factory hood with a fiberglass hood, and that's about I think that was the second time I've ever bought a fiberglass hood, and I swear I'll never do it again. They never fit right. That thing all said and done, by the time I had it reinforced to actually be strong enough to even be a hood, it probably weighed 250 pounds. It was just a total junker. So I got rid of that and went with the steel hood. I'm plumb happy with it. It was a precise fit the first time, and I never looked back on that. So something I've done with all my Peterbilts, as well as this Dodge, is just kind of played around with trying to make the vehicles more quiet. The Cummins is an unbelievable power plant, but they are noisy. And so I'm really trying to eliminate noise coming out of this engine compartment as well as out of the exhaust. And so in doing so, I filled every empty space with Great Stuff Pro expandable foam. If you've kind of followed on any of these videos, you see I'm kind of a nut about that foam. So, but I think that ultimately, at least with my Peterbilts, it really quieted the cab down, quieted the external sound down. I'm hoping to accomplish the same thing here. I filled in virtually everything. you can see that this hood's completely filled in. I'll get some more of this material here and fill in these spots here, but ultimately I'd really like to quiet this thing down quite a bit more than they are right out of the factory. So, but let's move on around. That's a Dynamat hood liner. I'm a pretty big fan of Dynamat. Very expensive stuff, but I think that you get what you pay for when it comes to that. So